Guys, what's going on? My name is Marlon Johnson, and in this video, I'm going to share with you what I do to track my numbers in my business. Because if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. And this was a problem I was running into, and maybe some of you can relate. I was constantly feeling in this state of panic in my business, never quite sure if I was making enough money, not quite sure where the next dollar is going to come from. I felt very lost, and I didn't have a clear sense of direction. And although I had this broad sense of I want to be more successful in my parkour business, I was like, I want more clients in my real estate business. It was like, all right, I want to do more wholesale deals. I want to buy more fix and flips. I want to buy more rentals. And even now, what I'm doing in my coaching business is like, all right, I want to impact more lives. And these are good goals to have. However, as a business owner, they were way too broad. And what would happen is I would base my success on how I was feeling. And the challenge with that is your feelings fluctuate up and down from day to day, regardless of how you're actually performing. So when we start to understand our numbers, we start to understand the vitals of our business. It's like being a doctor and being able to understand how your patient is doing by checking their blood pressure versus just asking them, how do you feel? So, with this being the case, we're going to be breaking down the profit first model. That's what I use. It's one of many systems, but I like this system. It was made by Mike McAllowitz, and later David Richter broke it down for real estate. And a handful of people have taken the profit first model by Mike McAllowitz and broken it down into their business. I'm going to go over how I use it in my business because it's been really helpful to me. So, my goal is that it can help you as well. So the first thing we're going to notice is I've got a couple of things drawn out here. And you'll see based on the annual real revenue that you want to create in your business is going to be how you allocate your money in a different way. Because when you start to think in terms of how your money is going to be distributed, you're not going to worry about, do I have enough money to operate the company? Do I have enough money for taxes? Am I overspending? Am I underspending? We're going to determine these buckets. I like to call them buckets before we even get started. So, based off what your goals are as far as what you want to earn in real revenue, in other words, gross revenue per year in your business, is going to determine the bracket that you hang out in. Now, I'm only showing you the three brackets here up to $1 million. The brackets do go higher depending on how much you want to make, but most people, most of my viewers are below the seven-figure mark. So I'm going to talk to you with where I'm at. Plus, in my business right now, I'm in my coaching business. I'm still hanging out in this mark. So this is what's relevant to me as of today with where I am with my business. So I just want to share my experience on how it's been working for me. When we see this, we got zero to $250,000 is going to be one bracket. 250 to $500,000 is the second bracket, and 500,000 to $1 million. Now, when it says real revenue, this is just taking into account 100% of the income that comes in. So when you run this system, what you do is you create separate bank accounts. So let's say I open up a bank account at Chase or Citibank or Bank of America. I would have a main bank account, but then I would have beneath it different checkings or savings account. It really is up to you which you prefer to do. I'll give you guys a suggestion on some banks that I use later. I use Relay Bank for this because Relay Bank allows me to open up to 50 checking accounts without charging me a penny. And I love that. There's no fee involved with if I have $1 in the bank or if I have $10,000 in the bank. So I have multiple banks. I bank with Chase, I bank with Relay, I bank with local credit unions. However, for running this model, Relay is my absolute favorite bank. So I'll leave a link down below. That way, if you guys are interested in using Relay, you will be able to use them. I think you get something like $50 or $100 when you sign up if you use my link. Also, I get whatever they give you, I think I get back as well. So I get a kickback. But besides that, Relay is a good bank just because it doesn't cost you anything. And when you're building your business in the beginning, typically, like I bank with Chase as well. If I don't hold a minimum of $2,500 in my Chase account, then I get charged a monthly fee on all of my checking accounts. And I only have a certain amount of transactions where I can transfer money back and forth. So keep that in mind when you're shopping for banks. I recommend looking for local community banks. If you have those in your area, go build relationships with local community banks. And like I said, check out Relay. That's who I bank with. Bringing it back to this topic now. In this first bank account, in this first one, this is where all your money is going to get deposited in. So when you transact, when you go and you get a deal done, if you wholesale a property, if you sign up a new client, if you sell a new product, All of the income is going to come into this real revenue account, and 100% of the money goes into there. So if I make $1, $1 goes in there. If I make $100,000, $100,000 goes into there. And then I'm going to distribute it based off of what bracket I'm in. So let's say I'm hanging out in the zero to $250,000 revenue bracket. What it means is when I get this money, I'm going to reallocate 5% of the money towards my profit account. And notice that the profit bucket is first on the list. The reason the profit bucket is first on the list is as a business owner, we have a tendency to reinvest every dime back into the business, which there's merit to reinvesting. However, if you make this a habit too much, you never reward yourself for the work that you do. And then also, you build a false illusion of what the business is actually doing. The job of the business is to produce profit. Don't ever forget that. Your business's job is to make profit. It's to make you money and it's to create profit. If your business is not creating profit because you keep reinvesting it, what's happening is you might be missing some mistakes that your business is producing because essentially you're stealing from yourself, you're stealing from the business to plug up holes that should be addressed. So you're using money to band-aid the problem versus looking at the real problem. This is one of the hardest things for new investors and new entrepreneurs to understand and wrap their mind around, that if your business can't operate if your business can't operate with less money, then odds are you're doing something wrong in your business and you want to go and identify that problem. 5% of the money goes towards your profit account. Now, the profit account is the money stays in there. Typically, in my business, it stays in until the end of the year. And at the end of the year, I will pull from it whatever money's in there. Owner's pay. Owner's pay and profit are two different buckets. You in the beginning are typically doing a lot in your business. You're wearing a lot of hats. If you're in this zero to $250,000 range, odds are you are sitting in a lot of seats in your business doing a lot of work. Therefore, you need to be compensated for that. Your business needs to be paying you. You are an employee of your business. So in the beginning, when you're doing so much, you're going to collect 50% of what the business is producing. So half of the money that comes in is going to go to you as pay. 15% of that money is going to be put into a separate account for taxes. So I put 15% away immediately. As I get paid, immediately I take 15% and I just put it away, and that's for taxes. Now, I invest in real estate, so I'm able to depreciate and I'm able to do different things. So at the end of the year, I might not have to pay the entire 15%. I might have other expenses that I'm able to offset and write off, things of that nature. However, I don't want to ever arrive at a place where I produced so much money, spent all of it, and then I have a major, massive tax bill at the end of the year. So I keep 15% to the side for that exact reason. And then finally, operating expenses, 30%. This is the money that goes into running your business. This is the money that goes into paying for your marketing, to paying for your employees, for paying for the laptop that you need, whatever it is that you need to operate your business. It comes from the 30%. Now, a lot of you are already arguing like, Marlon, my expenses are way more than that. First off, if your expenses are that high, you need to pay attention to the margins in your business. I prefer high margin businesses where I don't have a lot of expenses. I don't have a lot of overhead. If you have a ton of overhead, it might be cool to tell everyone you made $10 million for this year. But if it costs you $9,500,000 to make it, really all you made was $500,000, which is still good money, but that's a really poor margin. That's a lot of risk for such little reward relative to the risk. So when you're looking at your business and you're saying, Marlon, how the hell am I supposed to operate off of 30%? Well, one of two things needs to occur. Either you need to make the actual dollar amount that 30% produces more by bringing more income in, or you need to trim some fat. What do I mean? The first instance, and this is something I'm lucky. I actually didn't have too many of these problems because a lot of the businesses I got into, I was able to keep my operating expenses really low through intelligent marketing, just getting creative with how I marketed, JVing with people, using Instagram and social media as organic marketing. So my operating expenses actually never rose too high. And I typically stay in high margin businesses like wholesale real estate. My margins were very high. Fix and flipping, my margins were extremely high. buying and holding properties, burying them out, and now even online coaching. I have a digital product where my margins are, close to 95% profit. So I don't have a lot of expenses. With that being the case, however, let's say I brought $100,000 in. That means I have $30,000 to use towards my operating expense. If you say, Marlon, my operating expenses, though, each year cost me $60,000, great. I'm going to tell you, instead of raising your operating expense to 60%, go and make $200,000. It's a different frame of thinking. However, we have the saying in our house in the mindset manner. We say, it's too expensive. No, it's not. You just need to go make more money. So go and make more money. Now, as you get out of this $250,000 bracket and you start to shift over from a quarter million to a half a million, what you're going to find is you want to start to reallocate the monies a little bit. Now, I personally have not made it here with my coaching business. I have made it here with my flipping business. So I'm aware of the change that needs to occur. And let's look at it. 100% of the money comes in, 10% of the money goes to profit. Now, you might be wondering why it went from 5% to 10%, and you'll even see it goes up to 15%. The idea is, as you're building a true business, you want your business to become more and more profitable, because if you pay attention, my owner's pay goes down. Why does my owner's pay go down? Well, it's simple. As the business begins to make more money, you begin to fire yourself from more positions as you hire new people to come and work those positions. You create systems and processes, and you pass on the positions to new employees, to new hires. So, for example, in my real estate business, we hired an executive assistant who helped with a lot of the property management, a lot of the getting admin work done and paperwork done. So it's less of me sitting in that seat and more of her. So because I'm doing less, I'm able to take money that I was paying myself, and we can now begin paying our assistant. So in my coaching business right now, I don't have anyone that I hire, so I'm able to take in more money for myself. However, as I start to grow, I will naturally have to hire more people. I'll have to have salespeople. I'll have to have other coaches who are working under me. I'll have to have admin, bookkeepers, things of that nature. Well, I already have bookkeepers, but you understand. So as this occurs, as the business becomes more of a system and you start to put more people in place, what's going to happen is the business system itself should be producing more profit, because later on, that's what you as the owner, you get to collect some of the profit, but the owner's pay is going to go down. The day to day, the week to week, month to month payouts that you get for each transaction is going to go down because you're doing less work. Owner's tax is going to hang out at about 15%, because if you have a good CPA and you're planning accordingly, your taxes really you're aiming to keep them low. And what you're going to find is your operating expense is going to go up. So this is the number that starts to change. Our operating expense rises because I now have more overhead through employees, through systems and software and marketing and things of that nature in order to earn more money. Moving over to the final bracket, and the reason I'm going up to the final bracket, I have not made it. I'm going to be clear, right? As of today, I have not made it to this bracket yet. However, this is the goal. This is what we're working on this year. So I need to be aware of what's going to happen, the sort of changes that need to be made as I push into this bracket. And what you're going to see is 100% of the revenue comes in, 15% goes to profit. So again, I'm seeing an increase because as a business owner, I'm going to be doing less. My owner's pay is down to 20%, because at that point of running my own business, I should be doing less of the day to day. And what you're going to find is, as I'm doing less of the day to day, my operating expenses have gone up because there are more hires, there are more systems in play. So let's look at the next piece. So this should make pretty clear sense to you all. Now, what we're going to do is, now that we have this base understanding, and this is going to start to give you a foundation for how your company is going to look as it's making a certain amount of revenue, we want to figure out, what does it look like to get to that revenue? Again, sometimes we set these goals of, I want to make $1 million. Cool. But what does that actually mean? How do we actually get there? I understand how I'm going to separate my money when I get to $1 million, but how do I actually get to it? So let's look at the next piece here. Awesome. Now, check this out. The way that I break this down, and again, I learned this from Profit First, Mike Mikowitz, and David Richter, great people. This is how I run my business. This isn't the only way to do it, but this is just what I do. And this is what's been helping me produce results. This is what's helping me go. Now I look and I see I have a need number and I have a want number. And this is the amount of money that I want to net personally to bring into my pocket. So if my need number is $100,000, and let me define a need number. A need number is the number that you need to have in order to live at the current standard that you're living at right now. A simple way to figure out what your need number is look at the last 6 months of expenses that you've had, your rent, your mortgage payments, your car note, your food bill, your credit cards, all that stuff. Whatever it is, how much money you've spent in the last 6 months, you're going to take that and you're going to multiply that by two. And that shows you how expensive your life is or how inexpensive your life is, whatever. But that's going to show you how much money you need to make, that you need to bring home, put in your pocket in order to sustain your current lifestyle. So, for me, my need number is $100,000. It's actually a little bit less, but I've been forcing myself to spend more money because I just honestly, I don't really spend a lot of money. I'm a very simple dude. So, percent of money that I have to pay myself or that I pay myself based off of $100,000. If you remember from the previous, I'm in the first bracket, 0 to 250,000, which means owner's pay is 50%. I collect 50% from what my business is doing. So if I'm collecting 50% of what my business is doing, I take $100,000, I divide it by 50 or divide it by zero point 0.5, and that's going to tell me the business needs to do $200,000. This is pretty simple math, but it begins to give us a clear insight and understanding. So recognize I'm taking my need number, I'm taking the net amount of money I want to put in my pocket, I'm dividing it by the percentage that I get to pay myself based off the bracket I'm in, based on whatever this number is. And that tells me my business goal, the business needs to produce $200,000 of gross revenue. So typically, when you hear a person saying that their business did $100,000, know that that means if they're the only one in their business, they're only taking home about 50,000. Only half of that is coming to them if they're allocating their money properly. Now, obviously, some people have businesses where their expenses are much lower, they can take home more, et cetera, et cetera. However, just following the simple principles that we have before, this is where I need to be from a business standpoint. Now, my want number, this is the number that should excite you. This should be like, hey, what do you want to put in your pocket at the end of the year? For me, I want to put $1 million in my pocket before the year's end. So if that's the case, notice that this is going to bump me up into a new bracket because at that $1 million range, my owner's pay is only 15%. Now, some of you are thinking, Marlon, what about the profit? Yes, we will be able to take profit, but I'm looking at this purely from a place of owner's pay. The profit is going to be the cherry on top. I don't want to rely on that. I don't want to cheat myself out of money. So I'm looking at my owner's pay. I want to make 15%, or I get to collect 15% if I'm going to net $1 million in my pocket, which means if I take $1 million and I divide that by 15%, my business needs to produce $6,666,667. So a lot of times people are saying, I'm going to make a million. I'm going to make a million. Okay, great. So that means your business is ready to produce close to $7 million in gross revenue. That's how you take $1 million home intelligently. Again, can your expenses be different? Can your operating expenses be much lower? Can you have less overhead? Like I said, I'm in an online business. So, quite frankly, my operating expenses are not 50%. They are much, much lower, even as I'm in the future, as I bring on employees. However, I'm using this as a baseline. So, I'm working with those numbers because I will never be upset if at the end of the year we budgeted to spend $500,000 or $1 million or $3 million and we ended up only spending $100,000. I will be more than excited to take that income, that extra income into my pocket. Based off of this, now if we go down a little bit, we're going to see what do we need to do, how many deals, like how do I actually make these numbers happen, right? So I'm aware now, I can do the math. I know I need $100,000. So if I need $100,000, my business goal, I have to make 200,000. So I'm going to take my business goal and it's going to tell me that I need my business to do $200,000. Now, what's my average profit per deal? So in my particular business, I do high performance coaching. When I sign a new client, as of today's date, my clients come on at $8,000. So each client is worth $8,000 as a entry cost. So the amount of clients I need in order to make $200,000 of gross revenue, which allows me to take home $100,000, is I've got to sign up 25 clients. This is important for me to know because now I have a number, I have a figure in my mind of, okay, if I want to make $100,000, I need to go and sign 25 people up for coaching, right? Or if I was wholesaling, let's say that this was a wholesale assignment because people know I've done wholesale real estate and this is what it used to look like, except my assignments were a little bit larger. I would now be able to say, okay, based off of a $10,000 assignment, I need to go and do 20 deals. Based off of $20,000 assignments, I need to go do 10 deals. Whatever your average deal size is for whatever it is that you sell, whatever it is you transact, you want to put that down here. If my goal, my business goal is to do $6,666,667 and my product is $8,000, what it shows me is I need 833 clients. So that's a lot of clients. What could I do there? And this is what's cool. You start to look at your business and you might say, man, Marlon, I don't know if I could do 833 clients. Now, me personally, I know by myself, I cannot, will not, and do not want to do 833 different clients. So it makes me start to look at thinking differently. At that $1 million price point, what do I have? I have employees. I have employees. So I would have to hire coaches and I would have multiple coaches and we could bring in this many clients, but they won't all be coached by me. Or maybe I look at this and I say 833 is a lot. Maybe it's time to raise our prices so we can lower the amount of customers that we need to go and get. So now that you understand, and if you don't understand this, go back and rewatch it because this is something that not only do you want to understand, you want to implement in your business. So let's go one more page over because now that I know how many customers I need, it's going to be important that I understand my KPIs to get the customers. So I'm backwards engineering $1 million. So if I start to look at this, I'm going to see that the leads that I first want to figure out what are my KPIs like as of current. So in my coaching business, for example, as of today, you guys can see I've generated 81 leads organically through social media, through word of mouth. I've had 81 people apply for coaching. Out of the 81 people who have applied for coaching, 19 of these people have actually signed up and moved forward and paid. So I'm at a 23.46% conversion rate, right? I convert at 23%. Now, based off of that conversion rate, I know, and I'm going to lift this up a little bit so you guys can see because at the bottom, I know that I want 833 clients because that's my want number. That puts me at $1 million of business. So I'm going to divide that by the 23%. So I take 833, I divide it by 23%, and that tells me that I need 3,551 leads because this number 833 is how many people I need to convert. Right? So 833 people is how many people that need to be converted. So I need to figure out based on my conversion ratio, how many leads do I need to generate? So I take 833, I divide it by my conversion rate of 23%, and that's going to tell me I need 3,500 leads per year to make $1 million. I break that down into months. I need 296 leads per month. I break that down into weeks. I need 74 leads per week. I can go about doing this in a multitude of ways. And that's where you, as you're a business owner, you'll start to decide how do you want to generate your leads? Are you doing PPC? Are you doing organic? Are you doing JV? Whatever it is that you do. But now you have numbers to guide you. And with these numbers comes clarity. You backwards engineer your goals. This is what I do to backwards engineer my goals. I go through the profit first model. I get clear on what I need to do. And now the decision making is, okay, great. What generates the most leads? For me, social media. I make social media posts because that's where I've generated my leads. So you're going to see more social media posts will be coming from me. Webinars, running webinars, going on podcasts, things of that nature is how I generate interest in me, in my brand, in my coaching, in having entrepreneurs who are interested in making their first six figures come and work with me, because that's the crowd I attract. I attract the crowd that they're interested in making their first six figures. They're interested in overcoming limiting beliefs, and they're interested in working on their self-image, working on the personal development, because that's the thing that took me from making $20,000 a year to learning how to make over $40,000 a month in real estate, and having done triple-digit flips, having made profits of over $100,000 in single transactions. It was when I started to shift my mindset. I started to create high performance habits, and I started to change my internal blueprint. So I work with those entrepreneurs who have already gotten started, not people who are interested in getting started. Those people still need to figure out if this is even what they want to do. But the people who have already made up the decision that they want to be entrepreneurs, that they're committed to this journey, and they've already spent some time, they've been doing 3, 4, 5, 6 months at this craft, and they've been putting hours and hours and hours in. However, they haven't produced the results yet. I work with those people. That's who I look for. Like, if you are that person, then reach out to me. Shoot me a DM on Instagram. DM me the word coach, or let me know that you came from this YouTube video, or just leave a comment that you're interested in coaching. And I will reach out to you, and we'll set up a discovery call. And I can show you how we use high performance habits to change your behaviors, which ultimately change your beliefs about yourself. And as your beliefs change, you're going to start to find that your income is going to change. You will never outperform your self image, and your income will be in direct proportion to your self image and your personal development. So, guys, I hope this was helpful. I really hope this was useful. Comment below if you got value out of this. And I'm curious to know how many of you, after you watch this, what you figure out about your numbers. If you start to get your KPIs down on paper, is it more or less work than you thought you needed to do? Because when I did this for myself, I realized, like, oh, I only need 25 people to hit my need number. That's awesome, right? And then realizing I need to get 833 people to hit my want number, I was like, okay, that's a lot more people than I even thought about. So it made me start to ask different questions about how will I get there. But the most important thing is it started the conversation in my own mind. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you need to rewatch it, it took me doing this a handful of times to make it happen. And what I'll do is I'll make a spreadsheet for this. I just like to explain the long math, but I'll make a spreadsheet as well. And I'll share that spreadsheet with you guys if you go to my Instagram and you click on my link tree. So if you go to Instagram at Mindset Marlin, I'll have the spreadsheet for this in my link tree so that you can just easily download it. You don't have to pay anything for that. It'll be a free gift from me to you. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day, and be sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button, leave a comment, do all that good stuff. And I will see you guys for the next video.
I got $1 billion mindset, steady as a flow.